So, The Little Things, which is written and directed by John Hancock, and it stars Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto, and is a detective mystery. And essentially, that's the film. It's basically about women that end up getting kidnapped and abducted in the middle of the night because they travel alone in some variation of way. And it's ambiguous what happens to them in between getting abducted and being murdered. They kind of shed light on some things that happen to them. I guess it's implied that they're raped, but it's not fully clear. Uh, they're definitely like tortured in ways, but that's about the best you can make of their situation. So the main plot and main story itself follows two detectives, one main detective, and the main character who is a former detective, now deputy sheriff because of some past experiences while he was a detective. And it all coincides within one full murder mystery that was never resolved and ends up coming back in the current time period. The intro starts out in 1990 with a girl being driven down to a gas station by some random other car, and she's basically manhunted in the desert in the middle of the night until she spots a big rig truck who stops right when she jumps out right in front of his truck, and then it blacks out, goes to the title. And maybe I missed it, but it was never made clear if that was present day or how long ago that was or what. Maybe I missed a part, but either way, to me it seemed quite vague. But anyway, moving on through the story, you find out that ended up being the original thing that happened with the abductions and whatnot with the first girl. And onto the cast, I will say that everybody does a remarkable job. The standout is Jared Leto. Usually, like always, he did a fantastic job in Suicide Squad for what he was given. I think he was a bit over the top in that film, but for what he was given, he did a remarkable job. Blade Runner 2049, he really held down his persona of the villain that he needed to portray, and in The Little Things, I think he did an exceptional job presenting himself as an internal wannabe psycho serial killer. And, he shows off the signs of a psychopath because he's studied his entire life wanting to be a serial killer and go on a crime spree. And he's basically the main focus and main target. And it's never fully clear whether he is or is not the killer. Denzel Washington does a good job, although at this point in filming, I have to point this out there. Denzel Washington is a good actor, but every movie that he plays in, he literally plays Denzel Washington. And it's not bad acting, it's really good acting. It's just the character he always signs on to play is like a breeze for him to play as because he's literally just playing as himself all the time in every movie. Probably the weakest part of the cast is Rami Malek to me. He was in Bohemian Rhapsody, and I'm pretty sure that's the last thing I've seen him in. And he did a remarkable job in Bohemian Rhapsody, and in this, he did a good job for what he was given, but the problem is, in my opinion, he didn't fit the role. I just don't think he fit the persona. I don't think he fit the character. I don't know. Like I said, he did a good job for what he could. I just don't think that he was able to represent the role as best as an actor that they could have cast besides him. The story itself, I shed some light on it, and there are some really good parts. And then there are some really bad parts, particularly in the plotting and the writing. And the god-awful camera editing. Okay, it's the Taken 3 syndrome in every other scene, at least in the first to second act in this film. Literally, they'll be sitting at a table drinking drinks, and the camera will just be shifting back and forth everywhere, every which way, even though all they had to do was set the camera over in the corner, turn it to panoramic widescreen, and you would have been able to see the entire scene. But instead, they relegated back to action shots for the sake of them drinking drinks. And it doesn't make sense. And about 35 minutes into the film, never have I ever experienced this. The camera editing like that, the quick shots, started giving me a freaking headache. A headache. It was so poorly misrepresenting the film. You couldn't even gather what was going on. It wasn't as scattershot as Taken 3, but you could tell they definitely took some cues and some advice from the Taken 3 people. That's bad. That's bad filming right there. That's bad advice. I also saw this in RCXtreme, and I'll get into the review for that experience at the end of this, but I just have to put out the little things is not terrible, but they tried making it another 7, and it's not another 7. This is a very generically written, generically made film with some very memorable acting skills in this. And I mean, it has some really good scenes, but it also has some really baffling, dumb scenes with some really stupid plotting in the third act. Like, they started in the third act, they started this whole one storyline setup, and you'll get through if you watch this. They start going through this one storyline setup, and at the very beginning, when it started happening and taking place, I looked at my friend and I flat out said, "This is stupid. This is extremely illogical. No detective in their right mind would ever make this decision right here." Okay, they tried to do the whole wrong timing, wrong thing at the wrong event, wrong timing, everything, and it failed because it was still defined by detectives' choices, and real detectives would not be stupid enough to make those choices. Now, I was a little shocked at one tiny plot twist near the end of the film, and there are a couple plot twists at the end, and really only the biggest one stuck out. The other ones were still good. They were more subtle, though. They were more of in the storytelling aspect of twisting up the plot. But otherwise, though, Little Things it's a generic detective film with some really bad camera editing, average writing, excellent performances, and because of all of those things combined, I have to give The Little Things a 6 out of 10. Now, as I aforementioned, I watched this in the RCXtreme experience, which is IMAX with the new Dolby Atmos surround sound in the theater. And honestly, this film is not worth it. It looks great. Okay, the IMAX part, it looks great. Everything else outside of it, like, it's an average film that was so unnecessary to be put into anything RCXtreme or IMAX or anything. It's a detective film. What do you expect? Not much happens. It's not an action film. It is a detective murder mystery. And they put it into IMAX screenings for some stupid reason. I guess just to project the fantastic Dolby Atmos audio, which didn't really work because this film is a lot more silent than most films. So even the surround sound aspect didn't really hold up on its own. So the RCXtreme experience for The Little Things, I have to give a 4 out of 10. So The Little Things, 6 out of 10. Little Things RCXtreme experience, 4 out of 10. Thank you.